Good evening to the YouTube audience. I'll welcome you to our Tuesday evening Bible study, which is held every Tuesday evening here as we read through the Psalms. We are listening and waiting for encouragement in difficult times in life and for strengthening our thinking about God and our thinking about the meaning of our lives. And so we're glad that you're joining. I am Pastor Lou Kilgore. I am the pastor here at the High Mountain Presbyterian Church, which is a diversified ministry. We are involved in all kinds of ways, trying to seek to fulfill God's call to the people of God to be a blessing to the families on the earth. And there are many ways to bless each other. And we're hoping that maybe if you've tuned into this, you might find this to be a blessing in a surprising way. We have a few people that will be joining us on Zoom. That Zoom meeting will begin in 1 minute, and then we'll be underway. We'll read, we'll discuss, we'll share our lives with each other, and we're glad that you're joining and listening along. So just bear with us for a little bit while our Zoom class members go through the technology gate and get themselves inside. It'll be a couple minutes, so bear with me. Bernadette, are you there? Can you hear me? Guess not. If you're just joining by Zoom, we're here. We haven't started yet, but we're happy to have you join us.
Come on, not coming on.
Is that you, Barbara?
Yes, I don't know why. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Every time I do anything, there's more steps.
No. Let's see.
And Bernadette Robinson
Yes.
says connecting to audio.
Yep. Yes, Bernadette. Alice Taylor told me there are going to be some visitors tonight from Claremont Lafayette.
Oh, great.
And I think
Wonderful.
I think Bernadette is one of them, but right now she can't hear us. And I can't see her. Can you see her?
No, it says connecting to audio and there's no picture.
Right.
Debbie did email me. She's not going to be able to join us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She'll see us tomorrow. She's with her daughter tonight.
No, that's good.
Then the Psalm number, so I can get
Psalm
my act
31.
together here.
Psalm 31.
31.
Here comes
Okay,
Bernadette.
thank you.
Hi, Bernadette. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Good. Welcome.
It's great to join you today.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for coming. We're kind of drifting into starting, so we'll be a little slow as everybody figures out how to get past the technology troll.
Well, I came on at 7 o'clock, and
Yeah.
then I realized it wasn't 7:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to be early birds, but we decided to try to stay awake a little longer.
Well, plus the summer hours were brutal because we went through the summer, but it was so hard to leave off the beautiful outside bright light to come in at 7 o'clock, so we went to 7:30.
Yes. Okay.
So we'll be reading Psalm 31 tonight. It's 25 verses long, and we'll read it, and then we're going to discuss it and see where it takes us. But we'll wait. I think Colette is going to try to come, and I think Alice Taylor is going to try to be here as well, so we'll see.
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe even Melinda.
I believe she's coming as well. Yes, Alice.
There's Alice. Hello, Alice.
Hello. How's everybody this evening?
Okay.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing well, a little tired, so like I always say, if I doze off, just
We'll
Yeah.
whistle. Yeah, I can't whistle, so I'm only kidding. I won't whistle.
Maybe we could suggest to Zoom that they have an electric buzzer.
just buzz
We
me or
can push and
something.
just buzz you, just shock you to awakeness.
Just
I know Colette would have appreciated that a couple times, because when she falls asleep, she gets so discouraged, but it's okay.
I think we close out sometime and just leave her sleeping.
Yeah, that's right. I think she probably woke up around 10 o'clock. Yep.
She probably woke up and said, "Where'd everybody go?"
I know, where is everybody?
Oh, boy.
I was trying to tell what song we were on, and then I forgot whether we were on, 31?
31.
Yes.
Yes, 31.
You get the
Right.
prize.
Okay, I get the prize. I told them to write.
I think you got it right, just right. Well, so I don't know who else is coming, but maybe we should go ahead and start, and we can read, and then as others join in, we'll try to catch them up. How's that? Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So, Barbara, would you be our reader for tonight?
Sure.
It's a long one. It's 24 verses, but I know you've done it before, so.
And my title is Prayer and Praise for Deliverance from Enemies. It says, to the leader, a psalm of David. In you, O Lord, I seek refuge. Do not let me ever be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me. Incline your ear to me. Rescue me speedily. Be a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me. You are indeed my rock and my fortress. For your name's sake, lead me and guide me. Take me out of the net that is hidden for me, for you are my refuge. Into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God. You hate those who pay regard to worthless idols, but I trust in the Lord. I will exult and rejoice in your steadfast love, because you have seen my affliction. You have taken notice of my adversities and have not delivered me into the hand of the enemy. You have set my feet in a broad place. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eye wastes away from grief, my soul and body also. For my life is spent with sorrow and my years with sighing. My strength fails because of my misery. My bones waste away. I am the scorn of all my adversaries, honor to my neighbors, an object of dread to my acquaintances. Those who see me in the street flee from me. I have passed out of mind like one who is dead. I have become like a broken vessel, for I hear the whispering of many, terror all around, as they scheme together against me, as they plot to take my life. But I trust in you, O Lord. I say, you are my God. My times are in your hand. Deliver me from the hand of my enemies and persecutors. Let your face shine upon your servant. Save me in your steadfast love. Do not let me be put to shame, O Lord. I call on you. Let the wicked be put to shame. Let them go dumbfounded to Sheol. Let the lying lips be stilled that speak insolently against the righteous with pride and contempt. Oh, how abundant is your goodness that you have laid up for those who fear you and accomplished for those who take refuge in you, in the sight of everyone. In the shelter of your presence, you hide them from human plots. You hold them safe under your shelter from contentious tongues. Blessed be the Lord, for he has wondrously shown his steadfast love to me when I was beset as a city under siege. I had said in my alarm, I am driven far from your sight, for you hear my supplications when I cried out to you for help. Love the Lord, all you his saints. The Lord preserves the faithful, but abundantly repays one who acts haughtily. Be strong and let your heart take courage, all who wait for the Lord. Wow. So many visions through this. It's so visual to me. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Let me say first, someone else has joined us, and I don't know who it is.
She needs to unmute. There she comes.
This is Cheryl from Claremont Lafayette.
Hello, Cheryl. Welcome. Very happy to have you here. We just really kind of got underway, but we finished the reading of Psalm 31. That's where the reading is from. And Barbara, I really echo your comments. I was thinking as you were going along to just say this sort of slice of life statement that sometimes things get really hard. You know, sometimes things do get really hard. And in that discouragement, sometimes the people around us don't know how to encourage us. They do not know how to help. And so with their whispering and their talking, sometimes they make it worse. They're not able to put any good word into in any form, and so they whisper and make negative comments. I think of the likes of Job and his friends, but maybe not that bad, they're not helpful at all. And discouragement sets in. I mean, as you were reading, Barbara, I was thinking, trying to remember, because sometimes I put it out of my mind, times in my life where I have been very discouraged. And I wonder, for those of you in the class, have there been times like that for you? Have you known times like that? And can you say a little bit about what it was like for you?
I would say it could be rather lonely, hurtful, when you especially know if there's people who are whispering about you and whether or not there are truths about what they say or, not true. And it hurts even more when it's not true.
Yes. Yes. And it's like digging a hole. It's like digging a hole.
It's easier, yes. It's easier for it to hurt someone than to, praise someone.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if it was the other way around?
Yes, well, definitely.
And I think I do think that it is easier to get discouraged in life than it is to feel that wind of encouragement that picks us up.
Yes.
When I get really discouraged, and this writer is wonderful at describing the various experiences of these kinds of distresses that come into our lives, and when you're down, it doesn't feel like there's any bottom. And with that whispering, I was thinking about my pastoral training internship when I would spend a lot of time in the hospital, and times have changed somewhat, but when I first started years ago, it was really common to find someone who was in a hospital bed, who was not feeling well, was sick, maybe an unknown prognosis, and you'll find their family or their friends standing around whispering about them. And offering their opinions about what's happening or what's not happening. Meanwhile, the person in the bed wants to sit up and say, "Excuse me, I'm right here.
I'm here."
Stop talking about me and stop giving up on me." It came to life right out of these pages for me, how often, as a pastor, I would go into a room and the person laying there I would say, "Is there anything that I can do to help you?" And a lot of times the person would say, would you be willing to get my children together and tell them that when they're in the room and they think they're talking softly, that I can hear them? and that I need words of encouragement rather than their fears and their worries coming out? A lot of you are smiling, so I think you know this experience.
Now, see, that's funny because I have written a message on that, what I will do one Sunday. But I did it as far as seniors, people who are in senior living. They are overlooked.
Yes.
And they do talk, say their children and the doctor, they come to talk, they forget that they're sitting there and they can hear everything that they're saying. Now, some of them may pretend that they're not there or that they're asleep or whatever because they feel invisible.
Right.
So I do understand, especially those who are in senior housing.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you that my father-in-law, he was really, he was vigilant about his wife because she was in the hospital a lot. She had a couple chronic illnesses, and he was always on guard. He would be in the hospital room or in the nursing home, and if somebody walked in or the doctor walked past her bed and started talking to him, he would, he would stop the doctor, interrupt the doctor and say, excuse me, she's right here, you could talk to her. You know,
Yes.
I'll listen, but you talk to her. And,
Exactly.
you know, it's easy, and I feel that same dynamic, and this person is having a bad day. You know, this person is in a bad way in their life, just in a very bad way. And yet in the middle of it, he or she, they're trying to hold on to faith that God is with them. They're trying their very best, you know?
Oh, yes.
They're trying, and they're upset with anybody that isn't helping them, but they also don't feel like it's not easy. It is not easy. And the prayers are so, I don't know, they're so poignant, they're so descriptive. And as much as the person is crying out to God for help, you know, there's no sense that God isn't listening. There's a deep and abiding sense that God, in fact, is hearing every word this person is saying.
Absolutely.
And that the phrase that's mingled in here, I was looking for which verse it's actually in, you know, into your hands I commit my spirit. Those are the words that Jesus uttered from the cross.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about having a bad day, you know, like, but reaching the depths of despair and pain and discouragement and abandonment. This is an example, and
Even though this psalm has a lot of negative implications.
yes.
You froze.
Me? Is it me? I mean, there's a lot of negative thoughts coming across in this particular psalm, but in balance, there's also the positive, because I know you're with me.
Yeah.
Like, what was number 12? I'm forgotten as a dead man, out of my mind says out of mind. I'm like a broken vessel, but there's still a semblance of positivity, that because I know you're with me.
Yep.
I'm telling you all the bad things that I'm going through, expressing all of that, but I also know that you're here with me.
Yeah.
So it's like you're looking at both sides of this.
You say that, and I get chills go up and down my spine. They literally do. Like I think, you know, in my life, I want more than anything. I know I cannot go through my life always being, you know, full of optimism and in a sense, because, you know, I don't know how it is in your life, but there's good days and there's bad days, you know, and sometimes the bad days then have bad days, and sometimes it gets really hard. But you know, as I listen to the model of this person's life, even in the midst of it, as you're saying, Alice, you can hear this confidence. There is a confidence in this. And I was reading this. I can't think of all of the words of the song, but you know, in seminary, I went to Philadelphia. I went to seminary in Philadelphia, and I worshiped in African American churches. That was my total worship experience for the time I was there. And one of the things I really looked forward to was they used to sing this song called "Hold On," and it was sung by a soloist, and it was repeating the "Hold on, hold on." And I have to tell you, it was sung with a sense that it can be really bad, but that in the middle of it, the words "hold on" came from a different place. It came from a place of knowing that how it is today is not how it is always going to be. It's just not. And I have to say, I don't always have that depth of faith. I sometimes think when it gets bad, that's the way it's going to be for the rest of my life. It's going to be bad like this. And I should know better. I should know better. I have life experience to prove that's not the way it goes.
But sometimes our wisdom goes out the window. I was talking to a friend today. She's talking about her 6-year-old granddaughter who is in, I guess, a place of anxiety, I guess, more. And I think of my 2 granddaughters, and, you know, I try to listen. I try to be supportive, but, you know, there's no way I can say to them, don't worry, hold on, he just said,
Right.
but, well, because they're at a point in their life where what other people think is so important.
Right.
And I'm sure I was there at one point, but I'm not anymore, because I don't live my life based upon what others think. But I also have a faith, which I unfortunately don't think either of them have. So, you know, how can you can be somewhat supportive, but they need to find something to hold on to.
Yeah.
And can you supply it? No.
No.
No. Can you be there with them to try, you know, to, as they walk the journey? But it's so hard
Yeah.
not, you know, to watch it happen.
Well, I think one of the things that over the years, again, working with teenagers and when they get discouraged and young adults, that one of the things they hate for me to give them advice is ridiculous. That just makes them feel worse. But I would try to take an honest inventory of myself. And the question I would ask myself is, do I believe in this young person? Like, do I believe in them? Not do they believe in God?
Right.
And not do they have resources out there, but do I believe in them? And if I can discover that, if I can discover that I believe in them, and I believe they're going to be okay, and I believe they're going to endure, I don't have to say those words. I don't. But I don't know, maybe it's a little too mystical for some people, but I think if you're with someone in a room and they're feeling like, what's this phrase? I love this phrase. I have passed from memory like one who is dead. I have become a broken vessel. I think that if you can be in the room with someone who feels that way, and that in your own life, in your own heart, you're not blowing smoke, but you really look at them and you believe in them, I think they can feel it. I think they can sense it. And, you know, as grandmom, that's your job. You know. And,
I know.
Yeah, and
I'm trying.
Yeah, I know you are. And I think it's hard not just for them to believe, but it's hard for us when we see how down they can get and how down it can be for somebody else, to dust off our own faith in them.
Right.
And in their future. You know, because I always felt that I feel bad for my own kids, you know, when they would come to me and they would describe the situation that they're in, and rather than being able to be a beacon of light and faith, I would get scared. I'd be like, oh, whoa, that's not good. Like, that's really not good. You know, because sometimes they're scary. You know, we're not immune ourselves. But my prayer always was that I could connect in my own faith. You know, I really am specifically remembering some very dark days with one of my daughters in particular, and her feeling that, you know, she had failed and that she was failed several times, and she just, I don't know, she scared me with the depth of her despair. And I had to back myself out of the conversation enough to then realize that I was being affected by her rather than me affecting her in a positive way, because she had managed to, I started being able to say these words, and it's not my life that was in trouble. So finding a way, and then I would come away from those conversations and test myself and say, do you really believe that she's going to be okay? To me, do I believe it? Do I believe that God is with her? And do I believe it enough to put it into practice in my own life? And to allow myself to arrive at some level of calm, so that maybe if she reaches out to me, that I might actually be some good, rather than just an echo of her own anxiety.
It is difficult when you have children. And I have one daughter, my youngest. She will always come right out. Sometimes, like you said, it is scary. She's that open with me. She will tell me everything, details and all, and you'd be like, oh. I'm like, oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Right, do I want to know this?
I know. That's how scary it can get.
Yeah.
And then I have to sit there and, thank God I have my other daughter and my sister, and we start out with prayer. We just pray on it, It's like, okay, let's come together. We're going to have to pray on this here. Then we start to talk about things and ways that to help her through whatever it is she's going through at the time. And I always found when we start with prayer, and all through the week we'll send little quotes and different things. See, my children are away. I have one in California and I have one in Florida. Mm-hmm. So I don't get to sit personally with them. And if it's bad enough, they will come home and they will sit down and they will talk with me and talk with their father, because it may be pressing on them that much. And it's all through all different things, from work to finances to whatever, because, when they're grown, big problems come.
Oh, yeah.
So, this is what I deal with. But starting it out with prayer, and I've written like little books for them, little notes. God forbid if I wasn't here, they can go and, read whatever it is I've written for them for whatever situation, from friends to marriage to whatever. And they seem to help, and having them write things down seemed to help. Because my other one, she's not as open, but she'll write. So then I can learn from her through her writings. And they have different ways of expressing themselves. So keeping them in faith. Well, they are keeping their faith. They even send little messages to me, or if I'm going to do something, they will pray for me. And this has helped us. So I don't know if that's any help.
Well, I love that you have that pattern of prayer in your relationship with them. I'm going to tell you, I don't have that with my children. My children have grown up. I'm a pastor. I believe in prayer, but I don't have that kind of ready resource in prayer with them. Sometimes they feel very alienated from my faith, and yet their problems are just as concrete. And I said to my one daughter the last time she was near the fires of hell in terms of how she was experiencing her life, and everything was going bad, and I said, listen, can I make a suggestion to you? I know that within 3 blocks of your apartment where you live, there are 2 lively congregations of people of faith. And I also know that on Sunday morning in the pulpit,
There are people who are getting up in the pulpit and they are telling the story of God's love and grace to help you through difficult times. Go to church. Go to church. Because it's so alien to them. They're like, oh, well, Dad, we come to church when we're home. And I'm like, that is not what I'm talking about. That is not it. And at one point in this psalm, I forget exactly where it's marked out, but there's a place in the psalm where the prayer's disposition changes entirely. And I can't find it right now, but I love the fact that the commentator that I read says it's obvious. Oh, here it is. In verses 20 to 25. Let me see if I can find those. So he writes, "You will hide them in the hiding place of your face. From the conspiracies of man, you will shelter them aside in a shelter from strife of tongues. Blessed be the Lord." This is where it begins. "Blessed be the Lord who has revealed his loving kindness to me in a time of distress." And so the commentators are saying something happened. Because all of a sudden, this person is actually hearing that God hears their prayers. And the commentator says, presumably, external to the psalmist, which prompted the change was the declaration of an oracle or a preacher or a priest or a temple servant to the effect that they were reminded that God had heard the worshipers' lament and that prayer and that divine deliverance would come. So a word comes to this prayer, this honest prayer. A word comes to this person with confidence that says, I think you're going to be okay. I think God is going to be right there with you through this difficult time. And boy, did I ever wish that my daughter would just get up and go to church, and maybe by some miracle of God would come across an anointed preacher who would speak to her life circumstance and help her to hear a word of God encouraging her. Mm-hmm. Because I have found that in church. I don't know if you have, but I have found that. I have had those experiences over and over and over again in church. And as a preacher, I want to be able to deliver that kind of message to people. Right. But my kids, they don't go to church.
Well, I sent...
Be able to find the light somewhere else.
Yes.
And that's what as you said, that we need to be faithful ourselves and realize that God can help them through us. But, can they see the light somewhere?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, and also I'm thinking in terms of having compassion and empathy, but not pity. Mm-hmm. And the difference between those and how important it is for living that kind of faith.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Melinda. We didn't mean to be rude. We saw you come in, and we're happy that you're here.
Great discussion. I know how to stay silent and listen.
Okay, good.
We'd like to hear you, though. Your words of wisdom.
I mean, when I was reading through in advance and trying to think about our discussion tonight, it kept coming back to me over and over and over again how important it is to listen to these words and to realize, like I've already said, I'm repeating myself now, but that sometimes life is really hard. Mm. Hey, there's Colette.
Okay.
Hi, Colette. Hi, Colette.
My
Hello?
my
Colette?
my daughter was driving home from work, and she's a nurse, you know, and she had had a bad day, and she talked all the way from Baltimore to where she just got home. So I just felt that I needed to stay and listen to her.
Well, you couldn't,
Exactly what we're talking about.
we are exactly talking about that right now, about how sometimes we are called upon, especially, I can't believe this. I cannot believe, Colette, you just said that. Because we're just talking about, especially our daughters, that sometimes will need for us to listen and to be encouraged and to maybe be put back on their feet or with confidence that they're going to be okay. And then you come on and say, sorry, I'm late because I was busy talking to my daughter, trying to encourage her after a bad day. I'm done. I'm done.
Was meant to be.
Answer to their prayer.
That's exactly right. Oh my goodness. And for us, when we are like this prayer, like this psalmist, and we are going through the trials and the difficulties of life, whether they're coming from the outside or whether they're inside our psychological struggles and battles that we have with confidence and fear, it doesn't really matter. This psalmist describes them so well. And yet, the confidence that in the middle of those difficult times, there is an overwhelming sense that God is beside them and God is listening to their circumstance. And I think that's how we can facilitate that, is that we are also listening, as Colette just described, that we're listening, that we are a listening ear for each other during difficult times.
Certainly are a lot of difficulties in the world today.
Yes.
Yes. But it also looks like the psalmist, he started, like he's talking about in that verse 12, I am forgotten like a dead man. But then right in 13, he says, for I have heard the slander, not 13, 14. But I trust in, relied on, and was confident in you. So even like he's having this battle, and I think it kind of represents the battle we all go through, where where people are putting you down, and the enemy is saying they're right.
Yep.
And you know they're not right, but you feel badly because the enemy is telling you you're right. And so you have to, you have to say Bible verses. It's good to memorize verses so that we can talk ourselves off the fence.
Yes.
Great idea.
Amen.
I need to know what the psalm is that we're, so I can read
sorry.
it after.
Yeah, it's Psalm 31.
Okay.
It's 25
I'll read it
verses,
after.
Psalm 31. I'm wondering, it might help us maybe, Barbara, if you would read it again.
Okay.
Sometimes, let's be honest. Sometimes we get into these psalms and they're depressing. They're like, they are not encouraging. They are not. And this one has all the junk in it, but it has all of the threads of faith and confidence that are woven in right into its very fabric. And so it makes me say, let's read it again, Barbara, okay?
Okay. In you, O Lord, I seek refuge. Do not let me ever be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me. Incline your ear to me. Rescue me speedily. Be a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me. You are indeed my rock and my fortress. For your name's sake, lead me and guide me. Take me out of the net that is hidden for me, for you are my refuge. Into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God. You hate those who pay regard to worthless idols, but I trust in the Lord. I will exult and rejoice in your steadfast love, because you have seen my affliction. You have taken notice of my adversaries and have not delivered me into the hand of the enemy. You have set my feet in a broad place. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am in distress. My eye wastes away from grief, my soul and body also. For my life is spent with sorrow and my years with sighing. My strength fails because of my misery, and my bones waste away. I am the scorn of all my adversaries, a horror to my neighbors, an object of dread to my acquaintances. Those who see me in the street flee from me. I have passed out of mind like one who is dead. I have become like a broken vessel. For I hear the whispering of many, terror all around, and scheme together against me as they plot to take my life. But I trust in you, O Lord. I say, you are my God. My times are in your hand. Deliver from the hand of my enemies and persecutors. Let your face shine upon your servant. Save me in your steadfast love. Do not let me be put to shame, O Lord, for I call on you. Let the wicked be put to shame. Let them go dumbfounded to Sheol. Let the lying lips be still that speak insolently against the righteous with pride and contempt. Oh, how abundant is your goodness that you have laid upon for those who fear you, and accomplished for those who take refuge in you, in the sight of everyone. In the shelter of your presence, you hide them from human plots. You hold them safe under your shelter from contentious tongues. Blessed be the Lord, for he has wondrously shown his steadfast love to me when I was beset as a city under siege. I had said in my alarm, I am driven far from your sight. But you heard my supplications when I cried out to you for help. Love the Lord, all you his saints. The Lord preserves the faithful, but abundantly repays the one who acts haughtily. Strong, and let your heart take courage as you who wait for the Lord.
So
I just wish Michelangelo had painted this.
wait, say that again?
I said, I wish Michelangelo had painted this scene.
Yeah.
It's so visual to me.
Yes, it is. It's really.
The narrative out of this.
And as much as it's visual, it's also auditory. There's a vocalization here that reminds me that, sometimes when I come into church, what's most helpful to me is the things that I end up saying. Like when you say, in times of trouble, these are hard times, but I will put my trust in the Lord. Saying it and vocalizing it. And so look at how many times
the grieving one, the struggling one, makes these proclamations. You are my God. I know you are listening to me. I put my trust and faith in you. And I'm wondering, maybe the oracle that, or the preacher that they're saying the psalmist heard might have just, he finally listened to what he was saying, like himself, and began to draw some confidence and trust out of that. And then, the petition, you know me, God. I've trusted in you, so now help me out over here. Come, help me out, and give me a chance to be strong again like I have been. I love that idea, Barbara, of it being painted. How, what would it look like as a painting? This confidence mixed in with the struggle. Amazing. I was thinking about I don't know if you saw the story about the most recent woman who was held captive by Hamas, and as she was released, it's a powerful, powerful image of her coming out of that time of distress and fear. And as she got out of the ambulance, she turned to her Hamas captor, turned to him and held his hand and wished him shalom. Like, wow. It's just, that's when and where and how the presence of the living God is made real among us in circumstances just like that. And Bernadette, you were talking about how you write things and then put them in booklets, and maybe your kids will come upon them and find them helpful.
Yes.
When you're not able to be there. I was thinking about my grandmother, who she was a religious Presbyterian and went to church, and she did daily devotions and everything, and she would always, when you come into her house, she would always have, it was never the same one, but she would always have a word that was on the refrigerator. Mm-hmm. And you could tell that it didn't just get randomly drawn out of her life, but it was something that she was speaking forth a truth that maybe even she was having some trouble believing right then. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a model for that here. If you're having a really bad day, stand up and say this prayer as if it's yours.
Amen.
I believe in God. I believe in you, God. I know you know my circumstance. I was also, when I say this, it won't be news to anybody, I don't think, but in my work as a preschool director, I have to take these continuing education courses to keep up for the state license. And so I've been taking some courses with Penn State University, and so they're talking a lot about adults relating to children. And I got reminded of something that I've known, and I've believed in it for most of my adult life. But they were very graphic in showing the results of, Penn State, they do all kinds of studies and they show you the results. But the power that you have as an adult mentor when you say certain words to children. Mm-hmm. That the words that you say actually create a reality. They're not,
Absolutely.
Words are not neutral. And that's deep in our religious tradition, how God created the world by speaking a word. And so it's not just a caution about saying words that wind you down and wind others down, but an encouragement to speak a positive word. To speak it. Don't make it up. Don't pretend. But speaking these words, especially to young people, it changes. And of course, they can go in and they look at the structure of the brain, and they can see how positive words spoken actually affect the way the brain is processing information. and all for the better. So, right, it's not new to you. I know it's not. I try now, I'm trying to think more intentionally about going down, and I walk around a lot. I'm the director, so I'm not teaching a class, but I have the opportunity to say something positive to those children for no other reason than just to say something positive to them. And that's what they're emphasizing. It's powerful.
Very.
So how much of your words today were positive words to somebody else?
Well, I talked to Ray this morning and told him that I don't even have a teaspoonful of water in my bucket there. Like, I'm so grateful and thanked him profusely.
So for those of you who don't know, the background of that comment from Colette is that you remember those really, really rainy days we had, where you had one day after another and it rained all day long? So on a Tuesday night Bible study, Colette told me that she was sleepy because she'd been up all night, Monday night, because her roof was leaking, and she'd been up catching the water and up on a ladder. Now Colette, I don't think she'll mind me telling you, she doesn't see very well, and she walks not very well, and she's up on a ladder collecting water that's running in her house, and she described it so well, I couldn't take it. So a man I knew would hear her story and would respond immediately, and his name is Ray. And so I called Ray up and I asked him to go over and check it out. And so what Colette is sharing is that he not only checked it out, he got up on that roof with his friends, and they got up on there and they patched that roof and they fixed it so that Colette can sleep at night on rainy nights. And now she's saying she took the time to say some wonderful things to Ray. Good for you. I think that's amazing. So, and I'm sure that words like that coming from you, that man thrives on people who thank him and say wonderful things, which empowers him to be able to do that kind of work without any pay. So, I don't know. That's a happy story. Where'd you go, Paul?
It's amazing how much we don't realize the words thank you can mean to others.
Yes.
Gratitude is so important.
So important. It is. Because without those words of encouragement, the world is not just silent. In the absence of our words of gratitude, or in the absence of our words of affirmation and our words that are true, in the absence of those is not silence. Because what comes to people are the things that this psalmist is describing. So our words of faith and gratitude and affirmation to other people helped push down the negativities of the world. Because they're there. They are there. And they are ever ready to take over our mood and our mindset. So what else did you hear? Don't be bashful.
Certainly, a lot of songs with My Fortress and My Rock.
Oh, yes. You are my rock and my fortification. One of the commentator was saying that the difference in context for this phrase, into your hand I commit my spirit, we recognize that as the words that Jesus spoke when he was finally resigning himself to his death. But here, the psalmist is actually saying it in an entirely different context. Into your hand I commit my spirit, because the psalmist is confident that his spirit belongs in God's hand because God will restore it. Now, maybe there's some of that too in Jesus' prayer from the cross and his own confidence about resurrection. But clearly, this prayer is being prayed in the middle of consternation and frustration and struggle and everything else. But again, the confidence and the faith that is eking through it is amazing. It's just amazing. When I'm in trouble, I couldn't have written this song.
What I have been looking at is when he says, my body and soul are withering away. I am dying from grief. My years are shortened by sadness. Sin has drained my strength. I'm wasting away within. And that's a lot of pain.
It's a lot of pain.
And when, I guess when you have this sin, when you have sin, it does shorten your life. It does eat you up within. It will make you sick. Your health is affected. Your focus, your thinking, and it distances you from God.
Yes.
So for him to be calling out, he has reached his bottom.
Yes.
He has come to his end, and he has no other but to call out to God to bring him back into the fold.
Yeah.
He says, rescue me from those. So, this man, he is suffering.
Yes. It reminds me of the prayer of the prodigal child, who's gone off into the far country, spent every resource he has, got lost along the way, forgot who he is. He's a zero with the rim knocked off, and yet he has that moment like this where, he was raised in a household of faith, and he was acquainted with this character of God. Even if he didn't think of it that way, he was acquainted with the character of God because he was acquainted with his own father's character. And he says, I'm remembering that my dad is not the kind of person that's going to turn me away. So I'll go back. And having hit his bottom, the confidence of his own position in light of that just comes bouncing through. So I agree. He's hurting, really hurting. And I don't know. This year and a half has been a year and a half of being acquainted with grief in so many different directions. Lost my parents, my wife's parents, another good friend, and then I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but the biggest pain and the biggest hurt came in the death of my beloved dog. I just the other. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, but you all were important to me, and that dog managed to, work her way into the fabric of my life.
Yes.
And the grief is so pointed. It's just, wow.
Oh,
So-
yes.
So I really resonate with this sense of, you know, I'm just, my eye is wasted away with grief.
Yes.
I've been there. And I have to say again, in the middle of it, sometimes I forget to call out to God.
Mm.
You know, I'm so overwhelmed with my sense of pain and grief that I forget.
That's where the Holy Spirit comes in.
Yes, get a nudge. We need a nudge.
Intercede for you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, I'm wondering whether we've done this one. It's already 8:30, so I don't really want to start on a second one. Although the second one I think is also going to be a very inspiring one, Psalm 32, of the blessing of forgiveness. And I'm looking forward to being able to read that and discuss it with you as well. So I guess we'll say an end for tonight. Thank you, Alice, for extending the invitation so that we can have some new faces and new ideas with us in this journey. And maybe next week the rest of our regulars will be with us and we can all be together. My screen on Zoom is going to start to have you all get really small. So, but that's all right. I'm excited about that.
Okay, well, we're hoping to invite more and have more coming.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Good. I'm very happy about that. So thank you.
Okay, good.
Yep. So I hope
Thanks for everyone sharing.
yes, thank you.
Important to hear.
It is. It's so inspiring to each and every one of us as we share together. So I'm grateful for the opportunity and for you being here. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'll say good night to you then, and God bless you.
Night.
Good night.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night.
God bless
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Everybody.
Bye now.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Ah.
Good night to those of you who have been following along as silent partners.